All right, hey y'all. Paul C. Torina here, nutritional therapy practitioner, lifestyle and performance coach in Vegas. And we're here today to talk about non-dairy alternatives to things that you might be using if you're using dairy, or non-dairy alternatives to things that you might otherwise use but you can't because you know you can't do dairy. Does that sound okay? All right, so remember, one of our mottos in the SHT is we always need to be going without something. We always need to be testing something. And so we always recommend pulling specific foods out for a period of time and then bringing them back in so that you can see how your body responds. And so one of the things that we highly recommend people do is pull dairy out, because dairy tends to be problematic for some people, but it's not the only thing in the real food realm that's problematic. And I want to make a big plug here for full fat dairy, because full fat dairy is ancestral. It has a lot of beneficial nutrients in it. It has a lot of fat soluble factors and fat soluble nutrients. It's got a lot of medium chain triglycerides, which are really easy for the body to use for energy. And so we consider dairy a very healthful food. Full fat dairy products are very healthful foods, very nutrient dense, and they help us train our body how to use fat for fuel, okay? So I'd say if dairy doesn't jive with you for some reason, always give it a shot, because what we find in the SHT community is when people clean up the rest of their diet and their systems get stronger, they can actually start to tolerate more and more foods. And that's kind of what this whole thing is about. It's about figuring out what the broadest spectrum of foods is that you can consume so that you can make this livable in a modern lifestyle and also have access to all these beneficial nutrients that are spread out over all these different types of foods, okay? Now, what might be problematic with dairy would be, number one, it can be insulinogenic, which means that it can spike your blood sugar. And the only way to really know that's going to be very bio-individual. The only way to really know how that is affecting you is by blood sugar testing, okay? Also, dairy products can have some proteins that people are sensitive to. So some people are sensitive to whey, some people are sensitive to casein, some people are sensitive to lactose and don't have the ability to digest lactose properly. So those would be the main problematic factors that we'd want to consider for reasons why we might want to pull dairy out for a specific period of time. Now, if we're going to pull something out for a specific period of time, we'd say give it a minimum of 2 weeks. Ideally, you're going about a month, and that should be enough time for your body to kind of clean out anything that was problematic and for you to notice when bringing those foods back in if you're having some kind of a negative reaction, okay? Am I missing anything there? All right, cool. All right, so the main things that we would probably want to test in the dairy realm would be for those of us that dip our bacon in sour cream. We'd want an alternative for that, right? Does anybody do that? Nobody does that? Anybody ever heard of dipping bacon in sour cream is the best thing in the world? But I'm joking, I don't think we have an alternative for that. There's nothing that's gonna be as good as that, all right? So, number one, we want an alternative to butter. Butter tends to not be problematic for people that are sensitive to dairy because it has so little of these potentially problematic factors in it. But we do want to have an alternative as we go through this testing process. And so our number one alternative for butter is going to be either ghee or clarified butter. And I have two different ghee options right here. The difference between ghee and clarified butter is going to be clarified butter is simply butter that has had the milk solids removed. And so when you simmer butter at a really low temperature, you'll notice that it gets clear at the bottom or clear in the middle. You have this little froth on top that ends up kind of dissipating and evaporating, and then you have the milk solids that kind of settle to the bottom. To make ghee, it's just a longer cooking process, and those milk solids start to get a little bit burned, and they add some flavor to the clarified butter. So clarified butter ghee is clarified butter with a little bit of flavor in it, okay? So my favorite is actually this one here. This is by Ancient Organics, and it tastes really, really good. Both of them have, or most ghees and clarified butters are going to have a really good buttery taste, but they are certified okay for people that have dairy intolerances because they are completely void of all the dairy solids and any lactose. All right, so those would be our top picks for a butter alternative. The next thing that we would want to consider, especially for those of us that are diehard coffee drinkers or maybe tea drinkers, would be a cream alternative. Now, we love heavy cream, we love heavy whipping cream, and that typically has very little of these problematic factors, but some people just don't do good on heavy cream, so we need to have an alternative for that. I would say the more pure the ingredients on the thing that we're going to consume, the better. The minimal ingredients, the better. So my favorite alternative is going to be something coconut milk or coconut cream based. And so here we have a product by Oro-D. Sounds like a prescription medication thing, but it's what it is. And the only ingredients on this is, where are we at? Coconut cream. Okay, so basically that's blended up coconut, and it's got a little bit of the coconut water, but it has nothing else in it. So I'd say this is pure, it's pristine, and this would be a good alternative to heavy whipping cream in your coffee and or your tea. If we wanted to go to, and you have to get this on Amazon, I don't know that I've ever seen this in any normal grocery store or health food store, but if we wanted to go with something that's more accessible at most stores, we could go with the coconut milk. And this one from Thai Kitchen I've seen in most grocery stores and definitely at all health food stores. And if we look at the ingredients on this one, we're gonna see organic coconut water, organic guar gum. Organic coconut water and guar gum. And so guar gum is a stabilizer, an emulsifier, and it's perfectly fine. Most of the gums we're okay with, but all things being equal, this is gonna be a little bit more pure. This has got something else in it, it's perfectly fine. If you don't have access to this, this is something that you can find in most grocery stores. And there's other brands that are really good that have minimal ingredients as well. So the Whole Foods 365 brand is a good one. Also, Native Forest is a good one, and there's others that are out there. So we'll give you a list of ingredients to look for, just to let you know what other options there are. All right. Now, moving down the scale, we're going from optimal to less optimal, but they're all perfectly appropriate and fine. Here's a product here by Better Half. And this is coconut cream and almond milk together. And if I look at the ingredients on this, we have almond milk, coconut cream, natural flavors. Natural flavors can mean a lot. Like it tends to get a bad rap in the health world or holistic health world. But there's actually natural flavors can't actually mean natural flavors. And it depends on the company that you're dealing with. So when I called up this company here and did a little research into that natural flavors, then it actually came from some natural things. So each flavor or each product they have or flavor is going to be a little bit different. And this one, their natural flavors actually came from coconut cream and from almonds. So it was flavoring that came from those foods. So now some companies can mask or disguise something in that natural flavors ingredient, but that's not the case with this company, okay? So that would be a good alternative. And then we move down the scale to something that has a few more ingredients, but still acceptable. And this is nut pods. We've gotten a lot of really good feedback from people that use nut pods, and they actually like it. So here we have purified water, coconut cream, almonds, acacia gum, dipotassium phosphate, which is somewhat suspect. It's unclear as to whether that's actually an acceptable thing or not. So we're putting it in the gray area realm. But we'd say all things being equal, if you're eating 100% real food, fresh food, and you're doing really good with everything, and you have a little bit of this in your coffee, I don't think that's going to derail everything until we come out with some other verdict on it. All right. And then also we have some sunflower lecithin, which is perfectly fine, sea salt, and gellan gum. All right. A lot of good feedback on that, but we're starting to move into some more ingredients. Last option we have is So Delicious organic creamer. And the reason that we consider this a last option is it does have some minimal ingredients. It's got coconut milk, organic cane sugar, sodium citrate, and then natural flavor and gellan gum. Same thing, natural flavor in their case is flavorings consistent with what that actual flavor of this product is. Now the reason that we say this is kind of like a last resort is because we don't like to have sugar first part of the day. So if you're having some creamer in your coffee and you're going to use this has 3 grams of sugar per tablespoon. And so that would be a sugar signal early in the day that we're trying to avoid. We're trying to train our bodies to be self-sufficient. We're trying to train our bodies to be metabolically flexible. And so we're not big fans of having a sugar signal at the first part of the day. Okay, but if you wanted to use that in your evening tea or decaffeinated coffee in the evening or something like that, that would be fine too. Okay, cover everything that we need to there. All right, so the final thing, hopefully you're not doing a lot of this stuff, but I know most of us would probably like a alternative for dairy ice cream. All right, nothing in my opinion can replace dairy ice cream, but so really good option is going to be Coconut Bliss. And as far as we know, every flavor that we've checked out checks out as far as ingredients go. All right, it does have a significant amount of sugar, so you just want to be aware of that, but Coconut Bliss tastes amazing, and that's a good option. A lot of people are familiar with the Halo Top brand. Halo Top is kind of famous for being, for being lower in sugar because it's sweetened with sometimes stevia, sometimes some sugar alcohols like xylitol or erythritol. And they came out with a dairy-free Halo Top option. So this would be something to experiment with. Personally, I noticed a little bit of digestive issues when I consume sugar alcohols. I've also noticed that has to do with how much plant matter I'm consuming. So sugar alcohols in the context of eating a lot of plant matter, I have massive digestive issues. Sugar alcohols in the context of not eating a lot of plant matter, I don't have those digestive issues, which was really fascinating to me. But anyway, this would be a good option to experiment with. And then finally, a crowd favorite is going to be the So Delicious brand, and same thing, it's very low in sugar. If I look at the sugar content, for a half a cup of the Coconut Bliss, we're looking at 13 grams of sugar. If I look at a half a cup of the Halo Top Dairy Free, we're looking at 6 grams of sugar. And if I look at a half a cup of the So Delicious, we're looking at 1 gram of sugar. Wow. All right. So those would be the options for ice creams. And I think that's about everything that we need to cover as far as options go. Okay. We are going to have links and resources in the rest of this post so that this can kind of be timeless. I think a big takeaway is going to be when you're looking for alternatives, look for minimal ingredients. The more minimal, the better. The more pure and pristine, the better. Go without dairy for a minimum of 2 weeks, ideally up to a month. And then you can start to reintroduce it and bring it back in. But as you're going through that process, you've got these things that are going to taste amazing and still make you feel like you've got dairy in the deal. Okay? And I think that's about it. Thank you all so much.